Hi, everyone. So, I wanted to do another episode about that mother-daughter journal thing that I read from last time. Um, just kind of to drive a point home, which is, and this is to people in general, particularly ordinary people, you should unconditionally love your weird kid. You just should. You have to. You had made a choice to have a kid, although as I say that, I live in America right now, so that's a touchy subject because people don't really get choices if they do or don't want to have kids right now, depending on what state you live in. But anyways, that's a whole stupid thing that shouldn't be happening. But anyways, if your kid's weird, love your kid. If your kid's not weird, love your kid anyways. The reason I say this is because I had mentioned that I feel like half of this journal, my mom was like a normal mom, saying normal parent things. And then the other half, she just has a lot of insecurities about herself. And I feel like she projects a lot of that onto me, which is very strange and interesting. But anyways, I wanted to read some stuff here and there. I won't read a lot because, as I think about it, I feel like I read to you guys a lot. And I was wondering, why do I do that? And I don't know why I do that. But I remember when I was in first or second grade, we would sit in a circle and read from some book. And the teacher would pick people who raised their hands to read a page or two at a time. I hated whenever we had to do that because it was 45 minutes sitting in a circle. I don't think I wished I was dead at first or second grade, but close to it because these kids did not know how to fucking read. And I remember thinking why are they reading so slow? What is wrong with these kids? Because at that point, I was reading all kinds of stuff. And so I would volunteer frequently to read because A, I read quicker, and B, I just wanted to be done with this and move on to something different. And these kids with their slow ass reading skills were holding me up. I don't know. I don't know why. I read to people. I don't know why that reminded me of that. But anyways, apparently, I don't remember if I said this last time, but apparently when I was 10, I liked to cook. There's different pages in this book where I'm talking about when do I get to make the pizza or whatever the food was. That was a lot of fun. Can I do it again? So that, and I also enjoyed cleaning toilets, and I don't remember cleaning any toilets. I don't remember enjoying cleaning any toilets. And this is kind of funny because these are two things I hate to do now. As an adult, I felt this way for years. I do not like to cook. I do not like to clean toilets. I just don't. And I have bad memories of times when my mom would try to teach me something how to cook in the kitchen and I wasn't understanding measurements and stuff. And she was impatient with me and it just was not a fun experience. I wish I also remembered the good times because I don't remember any of those when it comes to food, cooking and stuff. So that was kind of surprising to read. I also learned, or I don't know, reminded myself that I was a very curious kid. Apparently at that time, I was very interested in learning about HIV/AIDS. I asked questions do people die as soon as they get it? I had a lot of questions about AIDS. So I'm wondering if I must have seen it on TV or it was talked about in school and I wasn't receiving sufficient information about this subject and I wanted to know more about it. She was not very helpful. Also, so I explained last time that she would write and then I would write and we would just pass it back and forth. So each day we're taking turns. And there's these sticky notes that she started, and she would put the word secret on top of the sticky note, and then you lift it, and she wrote like what she considered a secret underneath the sticky note. So part of me wonders if she was doing these kinds of things because she wanted to know more things about me, because I remember thinking, wow, she's telling me all this secret stuff. I feel like I can tell her stuff that I haven't told her. And also, the way that she starts the book is with asking me questions. Like each letter, we ask each other at least 5 questions, and then the following letter, you answer the questions, and then you ask the other person more. And that was kind of like the format for writing for the majority of the time. And since she started it that way, I still believe that she did not understand me. Maybe I had communication issues. I mean, I know I did. I didn't talk until I was like 3, but like, I don't know, maybe she thought that she could get more information out of me so she could understand her kid better, like by doing this notebook thing. And I don't blame her, because I was very early on an avid reader. I liked to write. The one thing I regret is that I didn't keep diaries when I was a kid, like journals, because I remember I did now and again, but whenever that bitch got mad, she would go and like read the fucking diary. And I was so pissed because, hello, like, you just don't do that to your kids, even though, like, looking back, like, I get, she probably was going after the diary to figure out what the fuck's going on with my kid. Why is she acting this way? I don't know. She could have just looked in the mirror. That would have been her answer. But anyways, I came up with this symbol language thing. So, like, this was like 10, and I was doing it before then. Or maybe right around this age. I came up with like each letter equated to a symbol, and that's how I would write in my diary. And it didn't take long for me to memorize these symbols that equated to these letters. So like whenever she would open up books, she would just see a bunch of gibberish and wouldn't know what I was writing about. However, I had to keep the list in case I forgot what the symbols stood for. And so I would hide the list, and that bitch would find it every time. And I remember, like, after a while, I was just like, I don't have any privacy. I can't keep anything in my room that's written down. It was just like, she was so controlling. But yeah, so like, I kind of wish I had those, because sometimes it makes me sad when I hear other adults talk about, oh, I'm reading from like this diary I had when I was like 15, and that would have been nice to have. I would have learned more about myself now, like as I was back then. But anyways, there's this one part where we were talking about feelings, and she wanted to know things that made me happy and mad, or glad and mad, I guess is how she worded it. So my list was, under the glad list, get a toy, done with a book, read, play, get my ID card, TV, music, in my room. And what made me mad, that list was getting in trouble, something gets broke, no more Joey Lawrence. Oh my God, Joey Lawrence. Does anybody remember Joey Lawrence from back in the day? Oh my God, he was so pretty. I loved Joey Lawrence. I loved his music. I loved looking at him. I loved seeing him in the show Blossom with Mayim Bialik. Oh my God, I was so obsessed with Joey Lawrence. Loved him. And when she got mad, she would like take the posters off my walls of Joey Lawrence. Like, I was so meticulous in the shit that I collected. By the way, here's a tangent. I think I'm already on a bunch of tangents. But anyways, when I was up in the attic this past weekend, I think I forgot to mention to you that I found my Spice Girls dedication binder, and I can't believe I said it like that out loud because it sounds cheesy, but I think I mentioned on here before that when I was a kid, I kept a ginormous binder with all Alanis Morissette stuff, and then another one with all Spice Girls stuff, because I was obsessed. And I came across the Spice Girls binder, and I'm like flipping through. It is so big. They're protector pages. I had clipped out like magazine articles, pictures, any tidbit of information I could find on them. And then I have like the last half of the binder, I preserved the posters from magazines like Tiger Beat. Do you remember Tiger Beat? Do they still does that still exist? Tiger Beat? Oh my God, like all those posters I kept preserved. It was some special interest, I gotta tell you that. But I also wondered, is this worth any money? Would people pay me for this? Is this it's old stuff. But anyways, I'm always trying to see how I can make a book. But Joey Lawrence, oh, those were good times. I loved him. And I remember I had little, I wouldn't say action figure, but that's the best way I can describe it. They had little things of Joey Lawrence like that. There were little action figures of New Kids on the Block. I got those too because I was obsessed with New Kids on the Block. And then the Spice Girls, I would collect all of that stuff. It was a good time. But anyways, and then in case anybody's wondering, the thing on the GLAD list about getting my ID card, I don't forget how old you have to be. I guess 10, because I had mentioned that I got my ID card. And I think when kids got to be 10 years old, at least over in Japan, that's when they were allowed to get their own ID card so that they could, come and go as they please, I suppose, from the base and showing their ID card to get into stores on base. But I don't know. I think it's a bit young to give a 10-year-old their own ID card and then they can just go gallivanting. But that was another thing that I liked to do too, is I was constantly asking, how old do I have to be to do this and to do that and to do this and to do that? And when can I go here? When can I go there? And understandably, she was frustrated with some of her responses. And she was just how about just enjoy what you've got? And then as you age, things will happen and blah, blah, blah. But I was always wanting to go places and to learn things. And also, I think my mom was a hoe bag back in the day because I had asked her, how many guys have you been with or dated? And she said she dated 26 guys. And even as an adult, when I read that, I immediately was oh my God, were you a hoe? And I don't have anything against hoe bags at all. Do as you please. But I was not expecting the number 26. That's a lot to me. That's a lot. I haven't even dated 26 guys. I don't know. Is that a normal number or something? It just seems like a lot. And I was man, I knew she was a hoe. I don't know, there was this, she had mentioned she was with this one guy before she met my father, and his name was Ray, and I was constantly trying to get information out of her about this dude, and I can see it in these pages, why won't you tell me, how long you guys were together? Or I was asking things can you at least tell me how tall he was? Oh my God, now I know, they probably had sex and shit, ugh. But she mentioned the dude, and then she didn't give me a bunch of information. And so that's not my fault. You can't just bring somebody up to a 10-year-old and it's a big piece of information about your mother and then not provide all of the rest of the information to your kid. So there's pages of me asking about that dude. Also trichotillomania. I told you guys that I have that. Well, interesting. I came across something that I wrote, and it was in one of the questions I was asking my mom, and it was 2 different times. So these were weeks apart. One week I asked, how old do I have to be to get hair on my private? And then I also asked later on, will it hurt when it pokes through the skin and grows? I don't know where I got that question from. I'm assuming I don't know, I must have heard about it or something. Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't know about it. But so I thought that was kind of interesting that I was 10 years old and I was already interested in hair. So what's that say? I don't know. But another thing that I couldn't help but notice, which was pretty common in this book, is even though this bitch is the one that started the whole question answer thing, she would get annoyed at my questions. And I remember as a kid thinking, like, I don't understand, like, you told me to ask questions and I'm asking them, and then you get annoyed when I ask them. And it wasn't just like, when can I do things? I had questions about life, about all kinds of stuff. And depending on her mood and, her responses, like if she was in a good mood, her responses were nice. If she was in a bad mood, her responses were short and not very nice. I mean, that part that I read last time, she used the word babyish to describe a 10-year-old. You can't call your 10-year-old babyish. Like, I was a fucking kid. Like, how else do you expect a 10-year-old to act? But anyways, so I was thinking to myself as I was going through this and I was reading the parts where she sounded annoyed by my questions. If I were a parent and I had a curious kid asking a bunch of questions, sure, it would be annoying sometimes because just stop talking for a little bit. This is a good thing why I didn't have kids, but I can imagine myself being like, I don't know, if I had a kid and they asked me something about the world and I gave them an answer, I would feel proud, like this kid is going to learn about this thing from me. I'm the first source of information, or, like one of the first sources of information to provide an answer to this kid. Like, I don't know, I would feel very special. Maybe that sounds cheesy. And maybe, like, you parents out there are rolling your eyes or something, but I don't know. I would, like, when Alicia's sister's kids, what are they? Are they my nieces too? I don't know. I don't know those whole label things, but when we were down to see her family a couple weeks ago, and the kids were asking me questions about different things, I was more than happy to answer the questions because I like answering questions or asking questions myself. And I remember having that thought, like, wow, like, you actually are going to trust whatever comes out of my mouth about this thing that you want to know more about. It's just, I don't know if that sounds weird or makes sense, but it's just a nice feeling to have, to be the one to share something new with somebody else. And because in my life, like, important things that I've learned, and by important, I mean the things that just stuck around, they stick in my head. I remember the first person that ever told me about that thing, and I don't know why that's so important to me, why I hold on to that, but it's meaningful. So that's how I would feel if I were answering a kid's question. Let's see, there's this one part where I wanted to just keep an animal in my room 24 hours a day, so I had just discovered animals and I was begging for, like, a cat. We had this dog, but, like, I didn't really care for dogs because my mom, she wanted a dog. She would get these little dogs and she would, like, build a little area in the kitchen for them and, like, gate it off. And then they would just kind of, like, be in there, like, a good portion of the time. And I hated it. I always was thinking, like, this dog needs to be free. Like, why are you containing it in the fucking kitchen? Like, let the dog roam. Oh, I hated when she did that. But I didn't care too much for the dogs. I just liked cats, and I was trying to, like, get some. Also, I liked hanging out with people. And I mentioned some of these people and I remember them. And then I remember, like, I liked them as people, but I liked their house. Their families were nice. I liked to go over there because I knew that my house wasn't like that. So that was, like, another thing. I don't know. I just think it's so interesting to see, like, how I was at 10 years old. Sorry if this is, like, I don't know what kind of episode this is, but I would consider myself strange and weird and odd in the things that I was curious about. I would use those words to describe me if, like, that's how an ordinary person viewed me. And I guess even my mom viewed me that way, like, weird and stuff. But knowing what I know now about being autistic, are those correct descriptions, like weird, odd, strange, because that's just all normal stuff to me. Like when I'm reading these questions and the things that I wanted to know more about, I haven't changed. I'm still like that to this day. And I don't think that having questions about topics that maybe people aren't used to talking about or find uncomfortable or whatever, like, I don't know. I think I'm talking in circles. But, oh, there was this one part. Oh my God, I can't find the page, but I see. Sorry. This is the last thing I'll read, and then I'll end this episode. Did I write that here? So, like, my mom had bought the Joey Lawrence CD, and I didn't have, like, a CD player. It was, like, a brand new thing. CDs were, like, brand new and hot commodities. So my mom, like, got the Joey Lawrence CD, right? She didn't like Joey Lawrence, but she bought the CD. Instead of just buying me a CD player, which maybe I guess that was probably more expensive back in the days. But anyways, she bought the CD and she recorded it onto a cassette tape for me, which we had a CD player in the house. Why didn't you just give me the CD player? But she recorded the CD on one side of the cassette tape. And if you guys are from the 80s and 90s, like, you know what cassette tapes are. And so she did it on one side. And then the other side of the cassette tape was completely blank because, you know, I guess she didn't need to record the CD on both sides. So this is what I did at 10 years old. I was so excited. I would listen to the Joey Lawrence CD on the one side of the cassette tape, and then it would get done. And then I would turn it over and just play empty cassette tape air. I don't know. I would just play it. Nothing was coming out, and I knew that nothing was recorded. And I wrote in the book, how come you didn't record on both sides? Because the other side, I have to wait a whole hour of listening to nothing before I can get back to the other side where the music is. And she was like, rewind it. Oh my God. Like, sorry, that's so funny. Like, rewind it. Like, there was a rewind button. I remember the moment when I was like, oh my God, duh, all this time, I could have just hit rewind. Like, you see, like, even at 10, I didn't know how shit worked. But, my message after reading this book is be nice to your weird kid and just love them unconditionally, because they're yours and they're little mini versions of you in some ways. And if you're not nice to your weird kid, they're gonna have so many problems, and they're going to be in therapy for years, and they're going to be like creating their own podcasts, bashing you. And sorry, no, they're not going to do that. That's just me. Yeah. I kind of want to go back up there and see if I can find like the second one, because I think I might have two. But also, like, this was kind of like a weird blast from the past. I can't stop thinking about this book. It's just strange to see my mom's handwriting when I haven't, like, talked to her, seen her, read anything that she's written in so many years. This is just very weird. And I don't feel angry or anything, even though maybe it sounded that way when I was talking about her. But I don't know. I just think that people should be people. People should love people for who they are. Don't try to change them. Just enjoy watching your kid become a person. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, just watch your fucking kid grow up and enjoy, like, their fascination with learning new things and wanting to explore and navigate the world. Like, that's all positive. And my mom never viewed it that way, at least not in this book. She didn't like it when I was very curious. She didn't like it when I was, like, asking questions that were about things that she had to give, like, actual responses to, you know? Like, it's just, that part's kind of sad because I was so curious. And I eventually, as the pages went on, I started editing myself. And Alicia pointed this out too, because I let her read the book, and she's like, you started editing yourself when you were, like, writing to her. And it's true, because I was changing my language to like, I don't know, because I could tell that she was getting pissed off. And so, of course, I blamed myself because I was 10 and I thought it was me, even though now I know it was her. And I started like wording things differently and paying her more compliments, like just weird shit that kids shouldn't really have to do at 10 years old. I don't know. I mean, no parent is going to be perfect and no parent is not going to have insecurities, but I sure hope that this new generation of people growing up turn out to be like really loving and caring parents. I just think I'm talking in circles now. I'm going to end this episode. The point of this is just, I don't know. I wish that my mom loved me more when I was a kid, because I didn't feel that she loved me very much, and I wish that she did. And if she had, maybe that would have helped me throughout life, not be so self-conscious and think that like I just was some weirdo that nobody liked. But yeah, love your weird kid, please. Okay, sorry for all the repetition, and I hope this was relatable in some way, and okay, goodbye.